Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Less than 24 hours to go for the biggest democratic election process to start. Voting in phase 1 for the 2024 general elections will begin tomorrow morning. India's political temperature has peaked with key parties announcing their manifestos. And with that, we have a glimpse of what kind of India each party could offer if voted to power. Of course, there is BJP on one side dominating the NDA vision, and there is Congress, TMC, left parties and others on the other side, the joint India bloc, who will somehow have to merge their visions for a cohesive message and governance. That, in fact, could be their biggest challenge. Now, BJP's 76-page manifesto was unveiled on Sunday by the PM on occasion of Ambedkar Jayanti, giving full marks to their 10 years governance performance. The BJP has underscored continuity while pitching the 10-year report card as just a trailer of Modi ki guarantee. The BJP made it clear it was they who managed to bring India from the fragile 5 to top 5 economies of the world, and it is them who will continue their current growth policies to make India the third largest economy in the world soon. The Congress says NDA's legacy is that of jobless growth, and the Grand Old Party, if voted to power, will double India's GDP in the next 10 years and reinvent the economy like it did in 1991. Uniform Civil Code and CAA have become the main bone of contentions for 2024 elections, with BJP promising their implementation and most opposition manifestos vowing to either stop them or repeal them. Then there are contentious issues like caste, dole-outs, Article 370, issue of foreign policy, particularly vis-a-vis Pakistan and China, and more. So whose promises and vision will woo the voter? The big question we take to our guests in just a bit. First up, let me take you through some highlights of the manifestos of some of the major political parties across the political spectrum from the right to the very left. First up, BJP, they have promised free electricity via the Surya Ghar Yojana. You get subsidies to electrify your house via solar power, and by way of that, surplus free electricity as that. 5 lakh free medical cover for seniors above 70. This is, of course, seemingly an expansion of the very successful Ayushman Bharat scheme. Free ration to the poor for next 5 years. This is a continuation of what was supposed to be a limited COVID time subsidy of sorts or scheme, because nobody should go to bed hungry in those times. But it has been so successful for the BJP, and I have personally witnessed its impact on ground, that they are continuing it repeatedly, and now they've promised it well beyond 2024 for the next 5 years. And then there is, of course, things like celebrating Ramayan Utsav globally. Let's shift to the Congress party. Their manifesto has, of course, garnered a lot of headlines. The first one being a nationwide caste census. This, of course, has raised a lot of eyebrows as well. They're promising a financial institution survey as well, a social economic status survey at large. They've also promised, and this has come under scrutiny, schemes like this, like 1 lakh rupees per year to a woman in every poor household. Upholding rights of religious and linguistic minorities. There is obviously more when it comes to minorities, which is why they've often come under attack of being a Muslim League-like manifesto as well. And then, of course, they've also promised abolishing of application fees for government exams and posts. This is going to be very attractive for the youth especially. TMC now. Increased income for labourers. They've talked about a guarantee of 100-day work for those who have an official job card. Implementation of Swaminathan panel recommendations. This is basically for farmers, the MSP, etc. And apprenticeship of graduate and diploma holders. The last 2 points are very similar to the Congress manifesto as well. And finally, let's talk about the left parties, the CPIM in particular. They've promised, now their manifesto is going to read very differently to the others, because Congress is talking about reviving the economy like in 1991. That's liberalization, by the way. Here's what the left, their partners nationally, are saying. Quota in private sector and OBC census, very contentious issues. Making right to work a fundamental right in India can be debated. Law against hate speeches, this is something that has been, ongoing. There's been separate laws being demanded on certain aspects, which opposition parties believe particularly are, are being used to make the minorities suffer in India. And then they've also talked about a law on general wealth tax. This is nothing but taxing the rich more, very much in tune with leftist policies. But I want to break down now the contentious bits. This will give you an idea of how many India bloc partners could actually find each other's manifestos problematic. While they agree on some points, there are points that could leave them tongue-tied if they were to talk about their national alliance. So, for the BJP, for example, there is one nation, one election, and they're also obviously continuing the promise of a UCC. While both are desirable in some senses, UCC of course is a directive principle in the constitution. They could be contentious in getting them done. You do need large-scale consensus to implement both. Now, Congress has raised eyebrows, as I said, by not just promising the caste census, but also talking about raising the reservation cap. They've also tried to woo minorities by promising that any law that hinders personal law freedoms will be done away with. This is being seen particularly for the Muslim community. TMC has expectedly talked about repealing CAA and stopping the NRC in the country. This is their big banner against the BJP policies in the country. They've also stood against a UCC in the country, and there are some similarities across the opposition manifestos on these 2 points. And then you come to the left parties as well. They've asked for a restoration of Article 370 and 35A in Jammu and Kashmir, for example. They've also promised to dismantle India's nukes, along with pulling out of major global alliances, whether India is not part of military alliances, but financial alliances or global partnership alliances. So all of this could turn out to be very, very difficult for other alliance partners to explain, especially the nukes part. And already questions are being raised on that. So whose manifesto is really going to woo the voter? We take that to our guests in just a bit.
आने वाले 1000 वर्षों के लिए भारत के भविष्य को तय करने वाला ये उत्तम से उत्तम अवसर है, उत्तम से उत्तम समय है।
संकल्प पत्र या मोदी की गारंटी पत्र, जो भी ये नाम देना चाहें, हमें इस नाम से बड़ी घोर आपत्ति। इसका नाम माफीनामा होना चाहिए।
कांग्रेस के घोषणा पत्र में वही सोच झलकती है जो सोच आजादी के आंदोलन के समय मुस्लिम लीग में थी।
देखिए, आज सीए बातिल करेंगे, अबे आपके कोई पहुंचेगा पार्लियामेंट में तो भी तो होगा।
ममता बनर्जी ने केवल तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति के लिए, वोट बैंक की राजनीति के लिए जो लोग पीड़ित और शोषित है उनके साथ खड़े नहीं होकर के वोट बैंक की राजनीति करके और ये सारी प्रोमिसें की।
Let's go across to our guests joining us. Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP, Arshpreet Singh Kadial from the Congress Party, Riju Datta, spokesperson of the TMC, and Professor Dinesh Vashni, leader of the CPI, all joining us. Let me begin with Riju Datta. Riju Datta, not surprisingly, you've talked about CAA and NRC. But is the TMC also going to support other parties when it comes to issues like bringing back Article 35A, Article 370. What do you make of your India bloc alliance's promises that have come?
Look, let me be very honest. I am going to only speak about my manifesto, which is applicable, which we have promised to the country. Now, different parties in the India bloc have different pointers in their manifesto that we will decide jointly after the result on 4th of June. But on our manifesto, we have clearly said that we will not let CAA implement in Bengal. Definitely not NRC, and we will not go ahead with this UCC nonsense that the BJP has been talking about. Because India, the beauty and the ethos of India is diversity in unity. Different people from different culture, different religion, different language, different food habits, different hobbies. We are all united together in this beautiful nation called India, that is Bharat. And that is what BJP is against. So we are.
No, you're
we are
confusing the
fighting BJP
UCC.
ideology.
One second. You
Yeah.
say UCC nonsense. I hope you know that UCC is a directive principle in the Indian Constitution. Also, you're talking about different food, different clothing, different lifestyle. The UCC has nothing to do with any of that. The UCC only has to do with laws that govern inheritance, adoption, marriage, etc.
Right. That it is exactly the same way. NRC has nothing to do with CAA as per the BJP. CAA is the head, NRC is the tail. They will put Hindus, Muslims, irrespective in detention camps. Look, I'll tell you this, Shivani, on your show. If people of Bengal, whose children are studying in the schools in India, who are working in this country, who are voting for BJP, TMC, Congress, CPI, whoever, they are voting and choosing their leaders and sending to them to the parliament. If they have the same ID cards as the Pradhan Mantri of this country, then they are citizens of India. Why this nonsense? Anyways, they are going to do 31,000 in the first place, they have said. So we do not believe in all this nonsense in dividing people. Everybody who resides in India, जिनका ये कर्म भूमि है, ये जन्म भूमि है, वो इस देश का नागरिक है, and we are not going to stick with this CAA, NRC and UCC and all that. And UCC, when the Pradhan Mantri of this country, rather than talking about unemployment or price rise, when he says सावन में मछली खाने से आप हिंदू विरोधी हैं, मतलब one election, one nation, one party, one religion, one food habit, we are not going to go for this dictatorship, this moral policing.
Okay.
Unity
I
in
still would
diversity, and
contend
we have
that
to go.
UCC is a very different issue that needs to be looked at differently. It is a policy that is followed in all large major democracies. So to confuse that with some other political bits that you're talking about, I think it would be a little bit unfair to the concept of UCC. I take your point on CA and NRC. There have been some concerns on what the joint effect of the two policies could be. But I want to go across to Dinesh Vashni as well. Dinesh Vashni, the thing that has stood out the most and possibly demands some sort of explanation from left parties is the dismantling of India's nukes. Now, obviously, the first question that will arrive in anybody's mind is, we are surrounded by Pakistan and China. China, of course, is nuclear powered, and Pakistan has tactical nukes. What are we going to do with this vision of dismantling our nukes?
Shivani, it is a principal policy of the communist parties all over the world to speak against the war. We are against the war.
What about China? Or is it not communist anymore?
By any nation on any nation. Excuse me?
What about China? China doesn't stand against war.
What I said the same. Whosoever wage the war by one nation on another nation, we are against the war. And that is why we believe that the nuclear weapons must be dismantled. That is our principal policy throughout the world. War is never constructive. Peace is always constructive. It has to be understood in philosophical context. That is
but sir, philosophy doesn't work practically. One second, philosophy doesn't work in practical terms. I just mentioned how we're surrounded by inimical forces that are nuclear powered. What are we going to do when we are under threat? I mean, just till recently, Pakistan used to use that N bogey against us and used to be so successful. I'm glad that that N bogey of theirs has been rubbished and buried. But if you were to give away your nukes, how are you going to stand up to some others in the world?
Whether it is Pakistan, whether it is China, whether it is America or any other nation, all we say that nuclear weapon must go away. These weapons are destructive. They have never caused any favor to the humanity. It is against the humanity, existence of humanity. That is why we say that, and everybody has to agree with this. People should agree with this. And there is a word, that is why the peace of the world is taught in the universities, not war of the world is taught in the universities. This is the philosophical understanding nation has to understand.
So even if other countries don't give up
this, it will be very harmful.
Even if other countries don't give up their nukes, they keep talking about reducing their arsenal, but obviously that hasn't happened. And in the remotest chance that the left parties could really dominate a common minimum program if we were to come together in a coalition government, you're saying India would go ahead and dismantle its nukes even if no other countries do? I wonder what the Congress feels about this.
No, Shivani. As far as India alliance coming to power and differences are concerned, that has to be solved by the common minimum program. That is what we did in the UPA 1 also and UPA 2 also. So common minimum program will be formed after the formation of the government, and UPA 1 brought a very good results for the economy, for the development, for the employment, for the manufacture in the country. Everybody knows it. And whatever the guarantee Modi ji is giving in the 76 pages of the BJP manifesto is all jumlas, proven jumlas.
Okay,
so
I'll go to the BJP manifesto in just a bit. But I do want Arshpreet to respond to this. It reminds me of what happened between the Congress and the left when Manmohan Singh led governments, the UPA, went steadfast in its programs with the US on nuclear energy. We know how the left reacted to that. What do you make of what the left parties or the CPIM is promising today?
Number one, when you were talking of Pakistan, Shivani, it reminded me of Mr. Modi's visit to Pakistan, a surprised visit. And the surprise visit included wishing the counterpart, the former Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, a happy birthday, have Kashmiri chai there, have biryani there. So, and again, violating the protocol and sitting in the vehicle, in the chopper of the counterpart, these kind of things should be avoided, and these kind of things will be taken care of when we form government. Number two, we were expecting the Bharatiya Janata Party's manifesto to come on the 1st of April, because what better than Jumla Divas, Jumla Din for a Jumla manifesto, a Jumla Patra. And
Arshpreet, I'll come to that. Arshpreet, I'll come to that. Listen, no, I'm sorry, you may not. You must answer my question. Address the question. No, address the question I asked you. Where do you stand on the left parties wanting to dismantle India's nukes? Are you for nuclear power and nuclear energy and nuclear weapons or not?
I'll tell you what are we about and what are we against. We are against the kind of policy that the Bharatiya Janata Party government
I'll come to the Bharatiya Janata Party in just a bit. Arshpreet, no. I'm sorry. You're a party representative. You must come. No, 1 second. You must come here and explain your party stand. Take the questions that you are being posed. You cannot sidestep my questions every time. No, I'm sorry. I'll come to the other bits once you address the question I'm asking. I'm sorry. The TMC and the left panelists have addressed the questions I have asked them. Ashpreet, you must address the question I'm asking you. Where do you stand on nuclear weapons?
12th interruption. May I please complete now?
No, you may complete if you address my question.
13th interruption.
Address my question, Arshpreet. I'm not joking about this. I'm sorry, Arshpreet, you do this repeatedly. You come for a show, you must learn to take the questions of the anchor.
Okay,
go ahead.
You must learn to take answers as well.
Go ahead, but address the issue. Don't go on the BJP manifesto just yet. Address the issue.
1 second. Number one, the topic of the debate is manifesto. Number two, we answer the way we want to.
No, you have to at least answer the question, whichever way.
15th interruption. 15th interruption, please hear me out.
I'll give you 30 seconds, but address the question I'm asking you on nuclear weapons.
Thank you for 30 seconds after 1.5 minutes of interruption.
You spoke for 1.5 minutes and you did not address my question.
Thank you. Again, I'll ask for 30 more seconds. Number one, I'll tell you what our policy is about. It is about protecting the rights of the people of India. It is about protecting the rights of India. And it is against the way the Bharatiya Janata Party's government has been operating when it comes to our foreign policy, when it comes to their visits, surprise visits, and having Kashmiri chai with the counterparts. And number two, the Bharatiya Janata Party's government, should rather have released the 2014 manifesto, because
you keep talking about the BJP. Here I am giving you an opportunity to outline your vision for the country. You keep talking about the BJP and then you accuse me of not giving you time. I'm giving you an opportunity to explain your vision for the country, but you're not addressing that issue. I don't understand this. No, I'm sorry, Arshpreet, I'm sorry. You do this repeatedly and this is absolutely uncalled for. If you're coming for a debate, you must learn to take the questions that are being posed. Please put his fader down. I want to go across to Charu Pragya now. Charu Pragya, respond to the issues like UCC and CAA and the combination of CAA and NRC. These are two promises that the BJP has made, but it seems like you're going to face stiff competition on all of these issues. And these are issues. I'm not even talking about one nation, one election just now. These are issues you will have to bring consensus on.
Absolutely. Shivani, good evening. And we do understand that the milestones we are hoping to achieve and what we are hoping to do in the next 5 years are not going to be very easy. Achieving consensus on difficult issues, but seems to be a speciality of Modi Sarkar, whether it was the abrogation of Article 370 or bringing about women's
No, even Article 370 and 35A, opposition parties are still opposing their abrogation.
Yes, I understand that, and the left has said that quite categorically. But Shivani, how many seats do you think they're going to get? It's
No,
very
it's not
easy.
about the left. I think even the Congress in bits and pieces has talked about bringing back Article 370.
Can I just draw a very simple parallel, and then I have a question or two about the other manifestos. But unlike Arshpreet, I'm going to talk about mine. Our manifesto talks about the UCC because we believe the people of this country need law to unite them, not divide them. The Congress manifesto actually says we'll put personal law above every other thing. We say that we're going to make our diplomatic ties even stronger, but the left says let's just dismantle the nukes and talk to Pakistan without them working on the terrorism issue first. We talk about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Congress is talking about doing a caste census which they've already done in Bihar, but they don't have a courage to release it. We talk about rationality. They are building castles up in the air, because if I were to ask Arshpreet, on page 22, you talk about repealing anti-people laws. Can you give me 5 examples? Forget 5. 2 examples of anti-people laws that the Congress wants to repeal. Do you have an answer?
Let him respond. I'll give him 30 seconds more to respond to that.
We've taken feedback from 1.5 million people to build up this manifesto, Shivani. We've taken care of every single section of society.
Does
What
the
did
Bharatiya Janata Party not value the saying of the anchor? I think I've been recognized if I could answer.
So, Arshpreet, I think the point that she's asking is, once again, can I just frame my question also? Once again, Charu, I'll come back to you. I'll give you equal time. Charu, just 1 second. But the question that the Congress Party's manifesto is facing is that not only are you saying that you will reform personal laws, but with consensus, that is fine, that is the way it should be. But you're also suggesting that any law that interferes in any personal law freedom will be repealed. So what are these laws?
Shivani, number one, if I'd be able to answer your question, if you do not interrupt me, I hope you won't. Number one, when the Bharatiya Janata Party gives these lectures on TV, I just want to highlight one thing before I answer your question. Number one,
Charu, let him finish. Charu, let him take his 30 seconds, then I'll come back to you. No, let him take it. Let him take his 30 seconds, please.
Bharatiya Janata Party government should answer this one question: why is your manifesto silent on MSP that should have been given to the farmers? Mr. Modi, before he became the Prime Minister, he had said it himself that MSP should be given as a legal guarantee. Mr. Modi's words before he became the Prime Minister. Now there is no mention of MSP in your manifesto. Number two, why do you not talk of government jobs? Why do you not talk of women reservation? Why do you not talk of debt waiver? Why do you not talk of reducing inflation? Why do you not talk of restoring peace in Manipur? Why do you not talk of giving health insurance to the people of India like we have promised in our
Okay,
manifesto?
can I come in now?
Why do you not talk
Arshpreet,
of
again, I must emphasize how frustrating this is, where you say what you want to say, and I'm fine with that, but you don't address a single question that is asked of you.
Did Charu Pragya answer my question?
So why should she answer your question? She has to answer my question, just like you have to answer my question.
No, 1 second. I'll answer your question the way I did.
When will you get to it?
Take lectures.
When will you get to it?
Lectures on how do I answer. I'll answer according to my.
But address the issue I'm raising.
Number two, if I may just clarify one thing. You asked a question. I answered it the way I wanted to.
You haven't spoken about it. I'm talking about personal laws. 1 second. Are you going to talk about personal laws?
Answer my questions.
No, are you going to talk about personal laws? Say yes or no.
Why is BJP Party's manifesto silent on MSP? Just tell me that.
Okay, we heard your question. Can I come in now? I'll go to Charu on that. Why are they silent on what is what they'll explain? But you talk about your manifesto, na?
Tell the Bharatiya Janata Party's government should tell. They should come
Dear
forward
God.
and tell why they know
I don't understand. Why are you so shy and sheepish about talking about your manifesto? I'm asking you about your manifesto, giving you time.
No, hear me out. Now hear me out.
No, now have you already spoken enough?
Manifesto. These things are promised in our manifesto. MSP, debt waiver, reducing inflation, restoring peace in Manipur, ensuring jobs to youth.
Yeah, what about personal laws? Which personal laws are being interfered by an existing law and you have promised to repeal those laws? So what are those laws?
3 minutes, you won't hear me out now. I'm talking of
I think I've heard you more than enough. In fact, all our other panelists have spoken less than you. Anyways, I want to go across to Charu. Charu, I'm sorry I interrupted you earlier, but please respond to that question of CAA and NRC too. You've spoken about UCC, address CAA and NRC. You haven't been able to really implement CAA till just before the 2024 general election MCC kicked in, right? Then you came in and said we're going to implement it now. Most opposition parties are opposed to this.
Okay, first of all, citizenship is a national issue. It is to be decided by the center, Shivani. A state government cannot say that I'm a citizen of, for example, West Bengal, not a citizen of India. That's not how it works. You are at the end of the day a citizen of India, taking your shapath even on the Constitution of India. And if this law is passed in the Indian Parliament, you don't have a choice but to follow it.
NRC?
The second thing is, for the NRC, our Home Minister has said that it's going to come around, but it is not an immediate priority. And that I am verbatim quoting Amit Shah ji. That's the second thing. Third thing, when you question the timing of the CAA implementation, let me remind you that again our Home Minister was categoric in saying way back in 2019 that we are going to make sure it is implemented before the next general elections. We delivered on that promise. Now, let's focus on the fact that the political parties which go around crying, talking about saving the constitution, are actually in writing saying that they are going to amend the constitution. That is my question to the Congress. Apart from what you asked about nuclear weapons, apart from what you asked about personal laws, on page 22 they also talk about anti-people laws. They hint at Article 370. I'm giving you an example. They hint at PMLA. Again, I'm giving you an example. Can the Congress spokesperson officially say what are anti-people laws? What are they going to be repealing in this country? Because if he cannot say it, let him admit that he's got a vague manifesto. His political party does not know what they want to implement because they don't hope to get more than 20 seats. It's so easy to talk about everything under the sun and the moon, but not work enough to win an election.
Okay,
because
very quickly, Riju wants to come in, but please put his fader down. Very quickly, Riju wants to come in, but Charu, do you want to address the economy issue? While there may be high GDP growth, there is a consensus that there is not enough employment being generated. Why is the BJP seemingly a little bit shy about making promises on that front this time?
No, absolutely not. And Shivani, I can actually get down into details of various policies we have launched which give employment, which is not necessarily a 9-to-5 job. Vishwakarma Yojana, employment. When we talk of improving lifestyles of people, whether by giving them free electricity by PM Surya Ghar, not just simple subsidies, then of course it is going to save money. When we talk about the Mudra Yojana, it's going to save money. The crazy amount of infrastructure development that our nation is seeing currently is generating employment. I can get into details.
Okay, I'll go to Dinesh Vashni on that, but Riju Datta, you've been wanting to come in. Please go ahead.
I have just one question to Charuji, and I hope she gives me a straightforward answer. Charuji, like you said right now, CAA is implemented by the union government, and after the CAA is implemented, in due course of time, NRC will be implemented. Can you confirm that, please?
So, Rijuji, can I just explain one very simple thing to you? NRC is a necessity of any nation. It will be done when the time is right, and nobody can shy away from admitting that. We do need to have a count of our citizens. Do we know how many elderly people we have currently? Do we know what is the median age of our country right now? We are still going by data which was decades old. So if you are going to try and convert of national importance into one of political importance only because it serves your petty political narrative, it's not going to help at all. We need to decide how many schools we need to make and how many universities we need to make, and how many more cities will have airports.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to just move on 1 second. Dinesh Varshni, interestingly, Charu brought up the point about PMLA. I think PMLA is one law that many opposition parties are now feeling is just too strong, although it wasn't really enacted in its in its entirety under the Modi government. It existed pre-Narendra Modi. You've also talked about, for example, repealing UAPA. If you see in conjunction, many could argue that the left manifesto is living in a utopia of sorts where it is not recognizing the challenges that India faces, whether on the terror front or on the neighborhood front.
Shivani, I will come to the PMLA and the UAPA, but let me tell you first thing about the CAA, that CAA is communal in nature. So we will have to stop it. We will fight for the stopping of it. Number two, about PMLA and UAPA, it is a proven fact that it has been misused against those forces, those who are talking of progressive nature in this country, those who are talking of the democratic rights in this country.
Like?
Journalists have been arrested. You know what happened with the Siddiq Kappan in UP. He only wanted to cover that event, which was rape. It has been used against the student leaders, it has been used against the professors, it has been used against the... Why it has not been used against those who are harming the nation by communal outbursts of the BJP leaders, of the RSS leaders, of those senas which the RSS BJP patronize? What do you mean by that? These are very harsh laws. Harsh laws never help the nation to develop. The unity and diversity of the country has to be adjusted, has to be understood in matters of laws also, in matters of governance also, in matters of personal laws also, in matters of family life also, everywhere.
So can I ask you a larger question, and I'll try and give 30 seconds to all of our...
UAPA must be repealed.
I'll give 30 seconds to all of our panelists. I'll try to do that. But Dinesh Varshni, I want to begin with you. Narendra Modi's strength seems to be, one, very tough on terror. Let's not forget, terror incidents outside of Jammu and Kashmir have mostly vanished from the rest of the country. They used to be routine earlier. The second is, of course, a delivery on ground. And that has tied itself to economic growth, at least in terms of GDP. How do you counter that? Because you're countering what an incumbent has been known for 10 years and has promised to continue.
Most of the terror attacks have happened in the BJP rule, whether it was Vajpayee government or the Modi Sarkar's government. The nation has yet not known about the Pulwama incident. There is no inquiry report offered to the people of India by this government on Pulwama attack. What Satyapal Malik has said has to be understood in the context. Similarly, other thing has to be understood. What Modi ji say about economy is all bunkum. It is a data fudging government. It stops the data. It blanks the data. You know what happened? If they are that honest about economy, why have they written a letter to the Auditor General of India that don't audit our schemes in future? Till now the elections are over. What do you mean by this thing? That means you have corruption in your schemes. And the electoral bonds have proved that it is a give chanda and take danda.
Okay. Charu, I'll give an opportunity to respond to that. But let Arshpreet also respond to this particular question. How do you counter Narendra Modi's plan of delivery of schemes at a large scale in 10 years, plus being very strong, very tough when it comes to internal law and order, in terms of terror activities particularly, and even in terms of dealing with enemical forces externally?
Well, two things to that, Shivani. First, to talk to the schemes and the policies that the Bharatiya Janata Party's government has been implementing. Let's talk of Make in India, Digital India, Skill India, Swachh Bharat, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Digital India and whatnot. All these schemes have been copied and pasted from the Congress Party, number one. Number two, you talked of how they have been countering, terrorism and everything. In the Pulwama incident where 40 Jawans of our country were martyred, Till date, no inquiry has been done. We haven't reached to a logical conclusion. The perpetrators have not been brought to justice, and Mr. Satyapal Malik has made major revelations and has exposed the Bharatiya Janata Party's government when he tried to say the truth. He was asked to stay mum, and this is how the Bharatiya Janata Party's government operates. And number 3, when I was asking questions to the Bharatiya Janata Party, it was from our manifesto that why is there no mention of MSP to the farmers, debt waiver to the farmers, Nyay for the women, reservation for the women, and not just that, the Bharatiya Janata Party could have rather delivered 2014 manifesto because 2 crore jobs undelivered, untouched, doubling of farmers' income by 2022.
Women's
untouched.
reservation, I think, is an issue that is now sorted because women's reservation has been now passed by Parliament. Secondly, as far as MSP is concerned,
not in the central government jobs. Not in the central.
Okay, you're talking about jobs. Okay. So
Number
if they've
2.
not talked about it, then clearly they don't want to give that reservation. I would rather be able to talk about what they have asked for or not what they haven't asked for, because that will leave, like point 1 is what you have mentioned in your manifesto. 99.9% is what you haven't mentioned in your manifesto. I can't talk about that. I have to talk about what is there in it. In any case, you've made your point. You've made your point. Ashpreet, you've made your point. Can I just give 15 seconds to Riju Jatta on that? Tough on terror, strong global leader. That's Narendra Modi's calling card, and this is a national election. How do you counter that, particularly as you fight as a hodgepodge, or as BJP likes to call, a khichdi of parties that don't see eye to eye?
BJP can call us what they want. In 2024 general elections is BJP versus democracy. It is going to be BJP, Narendra Modi versus the people of India. And come 4th of June, they will realize that the way they have taken this country back to the Stone Ages, the way they have choked the voice of dissent, whether it was the farmers, the educators, or apart from some crony capitalist friends, they have choked every citizen of this country, broken the backbone of the middle class. People will give them a befitting reply on 4th of June.
Charu,
so let's wait till 4th of June.
15 seconds for you if you want to respond, particularly on the terror charge that has been made against you.
Shivani, see, I'm not going to respond to any charges of political parties which are unable to make their mark on national politics. I'm more interested in ensuring that the 1.5 million suggestions which we incorporated into our manifesto are delivered. And that is Modi's guarantee, that is our Sankalp Patra, and that is what we are focused on. Our Sankalp Patra is divided into various different sections. We are going to be addressing every section of society, every area of work in this country. We've done some incredible work in the last 10 years. You can just go out and speak to citizens of this country for that, and we continue to progress on that because we have a vision now for 2047.
All right, I have to leave it at that. I've already gone over time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us.